Like our last botch. Well, like our last botch, this one isn't so funny. Actually, it's kind of scary. The reason the botch was so bad was because it tanked an entire pay-per-view main event and could have potentially led to a tragedy. The real question is, who botched this one worse? The performer in question, or the people who let him go to the ring in front of the cameras in this condition? The number 3 most botched moment is Jeff Hardy, dazed and confused.
Oh, dude, he can't even walk.
That's not number 1. Okay.
Oh, slow motion is better than no motion. He is done. And Sting knows it.
Sting, I worked with him now 100 times. So, I'm looking at him and I'm like, he's like, what the fuck? Of course, he's Christian now, so he doesn't say fuck, but what the F is he doing? He might even have said fuck at that point.
Wow. Wow. All right, now I see why it's right there. And he wanted to kick out, too, and Sting kept him in there.
It's really difficult to see a friend like in that kind of condition.
Poor Jeff, you know. Is this called dazed and confused? Is that what you call it?
We called it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's, stud athlete,
Wait, he was drunk or peeled up, or both?
Yeah, that was a very, very unfortunate moment. I did see the match, and I think the fans were just as confused as Jeff Hardy there. Something that shouldn't have happened. That's it. We're looking at people out there who are professionals, and it shouldn't have happened. That's all I can say about it.
Poor Jeff. Would you really call this a botch, though?
I think he's a highly emotional human being and a great worker. I really do. Asking me if Jeff has a problem is a very broad question, because he, like anyone else in the performing industry, there's usually something going on because of the industry that he's in. You will find it in music, in the music industry, and people that tour and are going all the time. You'll find it in football. So to pinpoint and say, does Jeff have a problem? I think it's a situation that is just a big bubble over the whole entertainment industry.
When we were there doing our stuff with it, he was he was a little fucked up working with the night Abyss that he worked with Abyss, and that Abyss supposedly did all that shit to Van Dam, and Van Dam was laying there bleeding, but you never saw exactly how it happened. I mean, that's just wrestling, man.
I mean, on and off he has, of course. I mean, it's well documented, I guess. But to go in the ring and put someone's life in danger, because that's what it can possibly come to,
And it's more sad than a botch. I love the guy. I wish this hadn't happened to him or anybody involved with it.
A guy like me looks at it and I say to myself, wow, I've never drank or done drugs or anything, and I'm friends with the Hardys. I think I've worked Jeff, and I think he's great. But I just think to myself, this is really indicative of the business rewarding fuck-ups, for lack of a better term. It's the culture. It's not Jeff. It's like I'm sitting at home, not able to even get a living wage from TNA, and this guy's making $1 million a year and doesn't have the respect to show up for his 1 to 3 matches a month that he works at Universal Studios to be clean for 15 minutes.
I would hand his ass to him and then be like, this is a lesson for doing pills or drugs or whatever before you go in the ring. See, me, myself, I did something too different. I did coke, so I wasn't gonna be stumbling drunk. I just had a heart rush, and I ran around the ring like I was retarded till my heart jumped in the A-field, and I was waiting for somebody to come in and say, clear, I was done.
There was a lot of times that, Chris would even have to go work with someone, whether it be Balls, who they grew up together, and I love him like a brother, but if I thought Balls was a little too fucked up, I would go up to him and say, you are not swinging a chair in Chris's direction. ain't gonna fucking happen, you know, if I have anything to do with it. And he would always listen to me because he was like, he still is deathly afraid of me, Pauls is. But there were many times that, you know, I'd see Chris about to work with somebody, and if I knew they were not in the condition to do it, I would bitch and be the out front cunt that I was known to be, and I would make sure it didn't happen.
Yeah, there was no problem. I wasn't the advertised main event. They couldn't perform. I had performed, and I just grabbed the mic and I had a little fun.
So you wouldn't have got me stumbling. You would have got me run out the door and run down the street screaming. You know what I mean? But that's what I didn't do a downer. I did a upper. All right, I'll be behind the curtain. My ring music hit, I'll be like this here. Bro, you don't see a match where I laid down. You might couldn't catch me after the match. I forget to get my pay. Cause I'm so coked up, I'll run out the ring, go to get my car, and still got my gimme my stuff, and then call police. Can you mail me my check?
I'm glad he got his life together. I'm glad he's clean. I'm glad about all those things, but that was truly a terrifying thing to watch, because not for him, because he got in there, and if he fell, if he got hurt or whatever, it's his own fault. But Sting got his neck scratched up. Sting's in there trying to do the best he can in his 50s, looking great, working out, trying to have great matches. And it was just, I really was scared and felt bad for Sting in that situation.
Not taken away from his personal responsibility at all, but when you're in condition like that, there's more important fucking things than your probably only 10,000 fucking people that bought the goddamn pay-per-view in the first place. You don't risk somebody's life by sending them out like that. Not only his life, but other people. It's just, you don't do that. It wouldn't have happened in WWE, and there's no fucking excuse for it.
He endangered himself and whoever you're in with. That's, no call for that at all. It's ridiculous.
That was unfortunate. I mean, that really was, and it was really, really bad for Jeff, but it was also really bad because, I mean, somebody could have got hurt in there. I mean, that was, I don't know if I'd call it botched. It was unfortunate.
They're both in danger. Not just Hardy himself, because he could just slip and break his neck, but if he tried to do anything, offensive to Sting, he could hurt him or kill him. Absolutely, I totally disagree with letting somebody in the ring in that conditions. I've seen it happen so many times, especially in ECW, especially like when Sandman was concerned. So many times he got in that ring and was swinging that stick when he should have been, passed out in bed somewhere. It was pretty bad. There was a few times that people actually refused to work with him.
We were in Pittsburgh, and we were high on, I had half the locker room high on acid, I think, that night. I was going, here, lizard. I knew what I was doing. I mean, it was only acid. It wasn't like, I don't know, but I knew exactly what was going on. Although I did sit that whole match in the front row on some fat lady's lap, I think. And New Jack was coming out, and I was doing the lizard thing, and yeah, that was acid.
Now, if somebody ended up, God forbid, paralyzed for life or something like that, what would Dixie Carter be saying right now? How she's going to take care of the guy for the rest of his life? Miss Benevolent Dixie? Like she told me, oh, we'll get these two together. Next day I got an email from her, oh, we're sorry, we don't need you. Even though we told everybody that you got fucked up and missed our pay-per-view. We don't need you anymore.
It was another example of how the business tries to remove the passion from those who care about it and try to see that hard work does pay off. Talent always rises. You can't keep it down. You can, because they'll keep putting people out there no matter what.
The people who took time out of their lives, people work for a living. And sometimes they might have to work a Sunday, and they went out of their way to schedule this pay-per-view on their calendar so they can sit there and be entertained. And they had as a fan, you daydream of what the match is going to be like. What's the finish going to be? You want a big finish where it's like orgasmic. And then it's unfortunate that Jeff, was in that condition. But TNA has an obligation to protect their performers and protect their fans' interest.
Not too long before that match, apparently he was okay walking around, but see, certain types of pills, when they hit you, you're fine 1 second and then boom, you could be done, you know. Somas, for instance, why they were banned.
Maybe they didn't know. Maybe they didn't know. Maybe he stayed away from everybody until it was time. You know what I mean? I've seen Axel Rotten go to the ring pill drunk, you know, not knowing what the hell was going on. And then you don't realize it because he gets quiet. So he's just sitting there like this. And let me know when my match coming up. So then it was time for his match. He done scooted around everybody, had nobody seen him, and then all of a sudden he pops up on camera and he's pill drunk. Axel did it all the time. That's why I told him I'd never work with him again, because he did it at TNA when we did that thing. When Time of Dream and all of us were down there. Axel was in the locker room, peeled up.
Well, if it were me, and it wasn't, I probably would not have let that person go out there. It's like giving the person who's intoxicated, here's the keys to my car, go down and get me some stuff at the 7-Eleven.
Never should have happened. I mean, not just for Hardy's sake, but for the company's sake. I mean, look at how that made not just Jeff, but the company itself, that they would allow that to happen. That was bad. I blame that all on Bischoff.
You hear a lot on the internet and you hear a lot of stories, and the one thing I got to give Eric credit for was, I know, like, Eric on the fly, you know, changed the finish, did whatever he had to do right there on the spot.
If Jeff Hardy is that much of a problem, or anybody, if I'm that much a problem, whoever has a history with drugs, don't fucking book them in the main event of your pay-per-view.
Yeah, well, you know, you've seen a lot of guys walk out, and, you know, maybe he acted like he was, and you want him to think that he's the main event. You want to think he's okay. I don't know, you know. You don't, how do you do that, you know? I don't know how to explain that one. I think that if I've already promised him in a main event, no matter what, and he can get himself to the ring, get yourself to the ring and do the job, you know? Yeah, well, no. Don't throw shit all over the place. Lock up, knee him, and take him. You know, for Stinger, he has to turn you like that. But if you would have went to slam him and he came down, he'd be right there, because I would do that spot with him sometime. But, you know, Sting is just, none of it's his fault. And, you know, who's ever sent, you know, it really comes down on Jeff, you know.
Jeff was okay pretty much the whole day. When he came out to go out for the match, that's the first time anybody saw him like that. So I kind of give Eric credit for kind of, you know, making a call in a very, very rough time. But it was unfortunate, not botched.
The company can say they didn't do this or did do that, but I know otherwise, you know, as far as, you know, they sent him through the curtain in that kind of condition, and there is absolutely zero excuse for it.
In my opinion, TNA did Jeff Hardy a great disservice by putting him out. TNA did Jeff Hardy a disservice, Sting a disservice, Eric Bischoff a disservice, and every single person who bought the pay-per-view.
See, like, to me, this isn't as bad as after Sting not speaking for 19 months, the first thing out of his mouth after he beats fucking Hulk at Starrcade is fucking something mamacita in Spanish. I mean, those are the kind of things in my life that I just go, really? You break your 20-month silence with something you utter in Spanish?
There's a million things they could have done to cover it up. They could have had Jeff Hardy just walking down the hall and have somebody just glom him and then send somebody else, you know? There's a million and one ways that could have been fixed or covered up. Like Paulie used to say, accentuate the positives, hide the negatives, you know? And that was a big fuck you to the fans, and that was a big fuck you to Sting. Sting didn't deserve for them to send him out there like that.
I mean, how hard is it to fucking do an angle where fucking somebody gets to him and fucking goes down and takes his fucking spot? Even if you got to work fucking twice. I'd rather fucking bring down a heel faction, Wiener Dog Sting, and have him fight from underneath. Anything but fucking, what, a minute and a half? You wonder why they do 8,000 buys?
There's a million fucking things TNA could have done to reconcile the Jeff Hardy Sting situation, and they blew it.